Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Peter Janssens. Hey Peter, welcome back.
Hello, happy Tuesday.
Absolutely. Happy Tuesday indeed. So Team Tuesday, as we call it here on the podcast, and of course we'll talk about teams and how sometimes they cause their own problems, and including perhaps self-destruct. But before we dive into that, do share with us, what's your favorite book and the one that inspired you the most in your career as a Scrum Master?
Yeah, I think from all the questions you have asked me to prepare, this may be the hardest one, to select only one book. If I really have to select only one, I will not take the one that maybe is most complete, but the one that gives me most direction. It's Accelerate by Nicole Forsgren. Forsgren. It's a Norwegian, I think, name in the source. But for people that don't know Accelerate, as far as I know, the best work that makes a link between statistics and really proven facts and agile patterns, starting with DevOps mainly, where there is a bidirectional relationship that is almost academically almost proven. It's not recognized by the academic world, unfortunately, but it is the approach. The method was in an academic approach, and they indicate that the 4 core metrics that we all know from lean management make sense. They proved that when people do these things, there are business results, there are people results, being happier and being better and growing faster. And if you do better agile, if you want to achieve more results in software development, you also, in the other direction, better apply those DevOps metrics and the DevOps patterns. And the third thing that the books really clearly identifies is we see a lots of patterns, leadership patterns, patterns that we know in Scrum, like stand-ups, like all those patterns. They do contribute, but be careful. They are just proven in one direction. If you want to be scientific, you have to take care. It's so they have seen that those successful teams, they do those patterns. It's not the opposite way. It's not because you do them that you will be successful. But this, for me, has been the first book that demonstrated that being agile with all those patterns respects each other, that it's not fluffy. There is scientific proof for it that it works, and it's not contextual and mainly dependent on the person. What my counter argument for agile in the past was, are we sure that all those successes that we pretend to be linked with agile are related to agile? Is it just the same person in a different context that would also have success? That was a big question I've had for many years. And this was the first book that said yes.
Absolutely. So I'll put the link on the show notes so that people can go in and find out more about the book and, of course, read the book as well. Now, Peter, we turn our attention to the teams and how sometimes they, through patterns or behaviors that they develop over time, create their own problems. So share one of those stories with us, Peter.
That create their own problems or their own successes. I arrived in a problematic context, because I arrived at a context where multiple teams, I think at one moment up to 5 teams, were working on a product for 2 years already. It was to create a new editor for the company-wide, all the magazines, online and offline magazines, to publish content, and they wanted to have one single editor to publish all the contents without repeating the effort. And it was ongoing for multiple, I think, months or even years already, and there wasn't a single thing already in production. So lots of investment was done and no result was seen. And the CTO involved me at the moment when he just said, okay, let's restart and let's give a goal to a small team first. Please make sure that one of all those publishing teams in the business will publish at least one article with a tool. And don't worry about anything else. Just make sure that they publish an article with your tool, which is an incremental, he was already having an incremental vision, like, okay, this is the first article. And it took only, I think, 5 or 6 weeks to do that, because we took the very simplest story, which was just some text, an announcement, like a header, and the saying, like it was 3 lines of text, but it was an article and it was published. And then the next question was, we had to look together with the team at the small publishing magazine that used that article and said, what is blocking us from publishing more articles? And of course, we wanted to list all the bottlenecks and to have the biggest bottleneck first. And we resolved that in 2 weeks. And within 2 weeks, they were publishing every day an article with our tool instead of one article only. And then we gradually took the biggest bottlenecks first, and we made our customers being more happy with our tool over time, more and more. And by the way, we set up at the beginning a synchronization tool, so they were really free to use either their old tool or our new tool. They were completely free. There was no impact. And if they used our tool, it was because we made it better, which is a value, a quality element.
It's kind of a self-check for quality or value delivery, right?
Exactly. And the self-check took place at the moment of deployment, of publishing your next version. And if it wasn't better, they wouldn't use it. So it was very rude, but very useful. And at one moment in time, the CTO came and said, look, but if you need another 4 weeks to have a next increment to make these people, this team, this publishing magazine, to publish another article, it's not so the ROI is not so large enough, because this was a small magazine. Go to another team and make sure that they publish your articles. And then we had to resolve a few things, and gradually we had the whole company using our tool, preferring actually our tool more than others. And that was a crisis situation, because if you imagine how much investment they already did all those years with many teams, and then in the beginning with a small team of 5 people, and later with 3-4 teams, we didn't increase at the same time, same size again. That was my first experience to see how you can get really huge results starting incremental in a very small value.
So the beauty of this story is that we are talking about a project that had been going for several months or years and never delivered anything. And then within, was it 6 weeks, the first increment?
I remember something like that, 5-6 weeks.
Within 5-6 weeks, you did the first increment starting from scratch, and then after that, every couple of days or weeks, you would deliver more increments, and eventually got the whole company to use the tool.
Yeah,
and for me, that shows the power of not being stuck in the end of the process, so like having everything with all the bells and whistles and so on, but rather getting stuck in the next step, right? And this is one of those basic cycles of learning and improvement that we also read about in Lean and in the Toyota Kata specifically, and the PDCA cycle, which is that it's not where you want to go that matters. I mean, it's important, but what matters is the next step. What is the next step?
Yeah, I have to correct that a little bit. To define the next step, you're right, but to understand what's value. And you have to be very rude in saying, to find a way on setting, like, is the next step value or not? And if it's not, you're just wrong. Change, adapt your way of working, because it makes there is no game, there is no benefit in doing it.
And that's actually something you mentioned in the story, right? Because the first increment was publish one article.
Yes.
Right.
And we had to give that stupid small tool so that they prefer our tool. So we couldn't just go there and say, here is a tool. We did that in the beginning, and then they returned it to us to say like, yeah, but why would we publish it with this? Because we need more time and we need more this and that. So we prefer the old tool. And then we had to rework and to do better. And only when they said, yes, now we want to publish this small, stupid article with your tool, then we were valuable. And the second thing that I learned there a lot is if you have a good definition of what a value increment is, in this case, it is usage of publishing an article, then you don't need to set your roadmap. You don't need roadmap anymore. You don't need to define what you will do in the next 3 months.
You can discover
it doesn't matter. You can trust that it will be valuable. What could you do better?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that highlights the importance of increments, right? Because you said you don't need a roadmap anymore. And actually, the value of increments is that, or rather, the impact of roadmaps is that they prevent you from seeing increments of value, right? Because then you're always working on these big things that have a future release date rather than what would the team benefit from tomorrow.
And the way we reported to other departments was, we think that in 3 months' time, we will have so many articles, so 20% of the articles being published. And it doesn't matter how. It just lets we have the ambition of having 20%. And by 6 months, we want to have 90%. And that was our roadmap. Everybody could understand it.
Yeah, a business roadmap.
I sometimes make a joke. I can give this joke more freely now because I've got the honor to be a CEO of my own company, of becoming a CEO in my own company. Even CEOs couldn't understand this roadmap.
And the beauty of that roadmap is that it really focuses people on what really matters, right? Because what matters in that case is the ambition to publish 20 or 60% of articles with the new tool.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes.
Absolutely. That's a great story. And I think Peter just teased maybe a story we get to hear tomorrow, which is how did he become the CEO of the company that he was a Scrum Master at. So let's see if that story comes tomorrow. Peter, thank you very much for sharing the story.
We'll do that. Let's see. See you tomorrow.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.